Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The scent of antiseptic and uncertainty hung in the air as Kaiser fidgeted nervously in the waiting room chair. His fingers drummed an anxious rhythm on the armrest, eyes darting between the glossy fashion magazines strewn across the coffee table and the closed door of the consultation room. This wasn't at all what he'd envisioned when he'd first looked into getting a makeover. A new haircut, maybe some trendy clothes. That's all he'd wanted. Just a little confidence boost to help him feel less invisible at the accounting firm where he worked. But then he'd stumbled across an ad for an experimental treatment promising dramatic results, and against his better judgment, his curiosity had gotten the better of him. "Mr. Reinhardt?" A nurse in crisp blue scrubs appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for you now." Kaiser's mouth went dry as he stood, smoothing his rumpled khakis with clammy palms. "Right, yes, thank you." The consultation room was sleek and modern, all gleaming surfaces and state-of-the-art medical equipment. A trim, silver-haired doctor greeted him with a firm handshake. "Kaiser, good to meet you. I'm Dr. Emerson. I understand you're interested in our transformative therapy?" "Yes, I think so." Kaiser perched on the edge of an examination table, the paper crinkling beneath him. "To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting into here." Dr. Emerson's eyes crinkled with a reassuring smile. "That's perfectly normal. This is cutting-edge stuff. Why don't you tell me a bit about what brought you here today?" Kaiser took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Well, I've always been shy, I guess. Introverted. I blend into the background at work, at social events. I just thought maybe a new look might help me feel more confident, you know?" The doctor nodded, making notes on a sleek tablet. "And you're open to significant changes?" I think so?" Kaiser's brow furrowed. "What exactly do you mean by significant?" Dr. Emerson set the tablet aside, leaning forward with an air of excitement. "Our treatment goes far beyond a simple makeover, Kaiser. We're talking about a complete physical transformation, a chance to reinvent yourself from the ground up." Kaiser's eyes widened. "You mean like plastic surgery?" "Much more comprehensive than that," the doctor explained. "Our process utilizes cutting-edge genetic modification and hormone therapy. The results are, well, they're nothing short of miraculous." A mix of fascination and apprehension swirled in Kaiser's chest. "That sounds, intense and permanent." "The changes are irreversible, yes," Dr. Emerson confirmed. "But think of the possibilities, Kaiser. A chance to become the person you've always wanted to be." Kaiser's mind raced. He'd never considered anything so drastic before. And yet, the idea of truly starting fresh, of shedding the timid persona that had held him back for so long, it was tempting. I don't know," he stammered. "It's a lot to take in." Dr. Emerson nodded sympathetically. "Of course, take some time to think it over. We can schedule a follow-up appointment to discuss the details further if you decide you're interested." Kaiser left the clinic in a daze, his head spinning with possibilities. Over the next few weeks, he found himself obsessing over the idea. He pored over the clinic's informational materials, watched countless testimonial videos from previous patients. The transformations were indeed dramatic. Men and women alike emerging as entirely new versions of themselves. The more he thought about it, the more Kaiser realized how much of his life he'd spent feeling uncomfortable in his own skin. Always a bit too awkward, a bit too passive. What if this was his chance to truly become the person he was meant to be? With trembling fingers, he dialed the clinic to schedule his next appointment. The day of the procedure arrived all too quickly. Kaiser's stomach churned with nerves as he was prepped for the treatment. Dr. Emerson's voice seemed to come from far away as he explained the process one final time. "The genetic modification will be administered first, followed by a carefully calibrated hormone regimen," the doctor explained. "You'll be kept in a medically induced coma for several weeks while the changes take effect. Are you absolutely certain you want to proceed?" Kaiser took a deep, shaky breath. This was his last chance to back out. But the thought of returning to his old life, to that sense of perpetual discontent, "I'm sure," he said quietly. The anesthesia took hold and the world faded to black. Awareness returned slowly, like swimming up through murky water. The first thing she noticed was how different everything felt. Her body seemed lighter, softer somehow. She blinked groggily, trying to focus on her surroundings. "Welcome back," came Dr. Emerson's familiar voice. "How are you feeling?" She opened her mouth to respond, but the sound that emerged was higher, breathier than she expected. What happened? Did it work?" The doctor's smile was warm. "See for yourself." With shaking hands, she accepted the mirror he offered. The face staring back at her was unfamiliar. Delicate features, full lips, long lashes framing wide hazel eyes. Her gaze traveled lower, taking in the unmistakable curves beneath the hospital gown. "Oh my God," she whispered. I'm a woman." Dr. Emerson nodded, clearly pleased. "The transformation was a complete success. Congratulations. Or should I say, congratulations, Hope?" Hope. The name felt right somehow, like it had been waiting for her all along. "There will be an adjustment period, of course," the doctor continued, "but we have a comprehensive support system in place to help you navigate this transition." Hope could only nod mutely, still reeling from the shock of her new reality. The days that followed were a whirlwind of physical therapy, counseling sessions, and crash courses in everything from makeup application to feminine mannerisms. Hope's head spun with all the new information, but beneath the overwhelm, a seed of excitement began to take root. She found herself marveling at the little things. The silky texture of her hair as she ran her fingers through it. The way clothes draped differently over her new curves. Even something as simple as painting her nails became a source of quiet joy. Of course, there were challenges, too. The first time she attempted to walk in heels, she nearly toppled over. "How do people do this?" she muttered, gripping the arms of a chair for support. Her etiquette coach, a statuesque woman named Vivian, chuckled. "Practice, darling, and a healthy dose of stubbornness. You'll get there." Slowly but surely, Hope began to find her footing, both literally and figuratively. She practiced her new voice until it felt natural, learned to navigate the intricacies of bras and pantyhose. Each small victory bolstered her confidence. But as her discharge date from the clinic approached, a new set of anxieties began to surface. It was one thing to embrace her new identity within the safe confines of the facility. Facing the outside world was another matter entirely. "What if people can tell?" she fretted during a session with Dr. Emerson. "What if they look at me and just see a man in a dress?" The doctor's expression was gentle but firm. "Hope, listen to me. You are a woman, not just on the outside, but in every cell of your body. The treatment was comprehensive. Your bone structure, your muscle mass, even your brain chemistry has been altered. You are, for all intents and purposes, female." Hope nodded, trying to internalize his words. "I know, I'm scared," she admitted in a small voice. "That's perfectly normal," Dr. Emerson assured her. "This is a monumental change, but remember why you chose this path. You wanted to become the person you were meant to be. Trust in that decision." As her final day at the clinic dawned, Hope stood before the full-length mirror in her room, scrutinizing her reflection. The woman who gazed back at her was undeniably attractive. Curves in all the right places, glossy chestnut hair falling in soft waves past her shoulders. But more than that, there was a spark in her eyes that Kaiser had always lacked, a quiet confidence beginning to take root. She smoothed her hands over the simple black dress she'd chosen for her debut, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. This was it, the moment of truth. The sunlight seemed impossibly bright as Hope stepped out of the clinic, blinking as her eyes adjusted. She'd arranged to meet her best friend, Tara, at a nearby cafe. Tara was the only person from her old life who knew about the transformation. Hope had decided it was best to make a clean break otherwise, start fresh in a new city. Her heels clicked against the sidewalk as she made her way down the busy street. She couldn't help but notice the occasional appreciative glance from passers-by, both men and women. It was not unpleasant, she decided. Different, certainly, from the way she'd been viewed before, but not unwelcome. The cafe came into view, and Hope's breath caught in her throat as she spotted Tara waiting at an outdoor table. This was the moment of truth. Would her friend even recognize her? Tara's eyes widened as Hope approached, her jaw dropping slightly. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Kaiser, is that really you?" Hope managed a somewhat wobbly smile. "It's me, although it's Hope now." Tara stood, enveloping her in a tight hug. "You look amazing," she said, pulling back to study Hope's face. "How do you feel?" "Honestly, terrified," Hope admitted with a shaky laugh. But also, right, somehow, like I'm finally inhabiting the body I was always meant to have. They settled at the table, and Hope found herself relaxing as they fell into easy conversation. Tara peppered her with questions about the transformation process, clearly fascinated. "So, wait," Tara said, leaning forward conspiratorially. "You have, like, everything? All the parts?" Hope felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "Yes," she said softly. "The changes were comprehensive." Tara shook her head in amazement. "That's incredible. And how are you adjusting to, all the female stuff?" Hope considered the question. "It's been a learning curve," she admitted. "There's so much to keep track of. There's skincare routines, hair removal, dealing with periods." She trailed off, still slightly uncomfortable discussing such intimate details. Tara reached across the table to squeeze her hand. "Hey, you've got this, and I'm here if you need any advice or just someone to vent to." Hope felt a rush of gratitude for her friend's unwavering support. "Thanks, Tara. That means more than you know." As they finished their coffee and prepared to part ways, Tara fixed Hope with a serious look. "So, what's next for you? Are you ready to rejoin the working world?" Hope took a deep breath. "I think so. I've got an interview lined up next week at a marketing firm in the city. It's entry level, but it's a fresh start." Tara beamed. "That's fantastic. You're going to knock their socks off." Hope certainly hoped so. As she made her way back to her new apartment, she found herself filled with a cautious optimism. Yes, there were still challenges ahead, but for the first time in her life, she felt truly comfortable in her own skin, ready to face whatever the future might hold. The day of the interview arrived, and Hope stood before her closet, agonizing over what to wear. She'd never had to put this much thought into her appearance before, and the pressure felt immense. "First impressions are everything?" Vivian's voice echoed in her head. She finally settled on a tailored navy blazer over a cream blouse, paired with a pencil skirt that hugged her curves without being too provocative. Professional, but with a touch of femininity. As she applied her makeup, another skill she was still perfecting, Hope tried to quell the butterflies in her stomach. This wasn't just any job interview. It was her first foray into the world as her true self, a test of whether she could truly pass as the woman she now was. The marketing firm's offices were sleek and modern, all glass and polished chrome. Hope's heels clicked against the tile as she approached the receptionist's desk, willing her voice to remain steady as she announced herself. "Hope Reinhardt, here for an interview with Mr. Callahan." The receptionist smiled warmly. "Of course, Ms. Reinhardt. Please have a seat. He'll be with you shortly." Ms. Reinhardt. The honorific sent a little thrill through her. She perched on the edge of a leather armchair, smoothing her skirt and resisting the urge to fidget with her hair. "Hope?" A deep voice called her name, and she looked up to see a distinguished-looking man in his 50s extending his hand. "Tom Callahan, pleasure to meet you." His handshake was firm, professional. If he noticed anything unusual about her, he gave no indication. The interview itself was a blur of questions about her background, her skills, her career aspirations. Hope found herself drawing on experiences from her life as Kaiser, carefully editing the timeline to avoid raising suspicion. "I'm looking for a fresh start," she explained when asked about the career shift from accounting to marketing. I've always been drawn to the creative aspects of business, and I'm eager to challenge myself in a new field. Mr. Callahan nodded approvingly. We certainly value adaptability here, and I must say, your enthusiasm is refreshing. As the interview drew to a close, Hope felt a surge of confidence. She'd done it. She'd made it through without arousing any suspicion, without her voice cracking or her nerves getting the better of her. Well, Hope, Mr. Callahan said, rising from his seat, I think you'd be a great fit for our team. We'll be in touch soon with a formal offer. Hope's heart soared. Thank you so much, Mr. Callahan. I look forward to hearing from you. She practically floated out of the office, hardly able to believe her luck. Not only had she passed as a woman, but she'd landed the job. It was really happening. She was really starting her new life. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of new experiences. Hope threw herself into her work, determined to prove herself in her new role. She found that she had a natural talent for the creative aspects of marketing, coming up with innovative campaign ideas that impressed her colleagues. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments of doubt, of dysphoria that crept in when she least expected it. The first time a male coworker asked her out for drinks, she froze, unsure how to navigate this new terrain of office dynamics and potential romantic entanglements. I'm flattered, she stammered, but I'm not really looking to date right now. I hope you understand. The man nodded, looking slightly crestfallen, but not pushy. No worries. The offer stands if you change your mind. Hope breathed a sigh of relief as he walked away. It wasn't that she wasn't interested in dating eventually, but the idea of physical intimacy in her new body was still daunting. She needed time to fully come to terms with her transformed self before she could even think about sharing it with someone else. As the months passed, Hope found herself settling into a routine. Work, gym sessions to maintain her figure, girls' nights out with Tara, and a few new friends she'd made. She was building a life, step by step. But there was still one major hurdle looming on the horizon: telling her family. Hope had been putting it off, dreading their potential reactions. But as the holidays approached, she knew she couldn't avoid it any longer. With trembling fingers, she dialed her parents' number. "Mom?" she said when her mother answered. It's me. We need to talk." The conversation that followed was long and emotional. Hope explained everything. The procedure, her reasons for choosing it, the new life she was building. There were tears, moments of stunned silence, a barrage of questions. I just don't understand." Her father's gruff voice came over the speakerphone. "You were always such a normal boy. Where did this come from?" Hope took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Dad, I know this is a shock, but the truth is I was never really comfortable as a man. I just didn't have the words to express it or the courage to face it. This transformation, it's allowed me to become the person I was always meant to be." There was a long pause. I don't know if I can accept this," her father said finally. Hope's heart sank, but she steeled herself. "I understand it's a lot to take in. I'm not asking you to fully understand right away, just give me a chance. Maybe we could meet for coffee when I'm in town for Christmas?" Another pause. Then, "All right, we can do that." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start. Hope ended the call feeling drained but hopeful. She'd taken the first step. The rest would come with time. As she prepared for bed that night, Hope caught sight of herself in the mirror. She studied her reflection, taking in the subtle changes that had become so familiar over the past months. The soft curve of her cheeks, the delicate line of her collarbone. Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.